The other day we made a video talking about how we can improve the bosses of Luigi's Mansion 2, and today I want to make a video talking about the actual bosses in the game and ranking them from worst to best. This is a game that I never was able to really rank any of the ghosts because it was on a 3DS and I really couldn't get gameplay. So now I can because it's on the Switch. So we'll be ranking every single main boss ghost and mini boss ghost within this game. No, it does not include all the variants of ghosts from the Scare Scraper, only the one Poltergeist that you'll fight as a boss. But I'll also be incorporating the other 3 Poltergeists and of course the 3 sisters in this list. So for a grand total of 12 boss battles. So before we get started, make sure you stop what you're doing, leave a like and subscribe. Let's see how many people we can actually get to subscribe from this one video. If you guys love Luigi's Mansion, show your love here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and let's dive into every single boss in Luigi's Mansion 2 HD ranked. Coming in at number 12 and starting our list is the 3 sisters from the Haunted Towers. This mini boss was the absolute most random and frustrating as well. What makes this boss battle, for one, so strange to me, it's like kind of the only portrait-like ghost that we get within the entire game. Like, these are the only ghosts that kind of reference Luigi's Mansion 1 in any capacity. Even though they don't have the same designs, it's still as close as we're gonna get to a portrait ghost in this game. And for some reason, they only appear here. But these are 3 sister ghosts that kind of twirl around Luigi with their mirrors, and your job is to flash the one that lifts up their mirror around the circle. Sounds fairly simple enough, right? Well, yeah, it is for the most part, but it actually can be extremely difficult if you don't know how to work the controls by this early in the game. So pretty much, as soon as you start trying to suck up one of the sisters, the other 2 will immediately try to attack you with the mirrors, making it extremely annoying. But after a while, I definitely picked up on what you were supposed to do, and I even read comments that actually helped me during this battle, such as letting the ghost drag you some more, or pressing the B button, which actually allows you to sidestep, which I swear the game never tells you. But even if you have everything down and you let the ghost drag you, it's not really a good mechanic for a boss battle. How do we dodge the enemy attacks? Let the ghost drag you around the battlefield. Yeah, it doesn't quite make sense, right? And overall, the boss battle is just extremely simple. Them just spinning around you and you flashing the one that doesn't have the mirror in their face. They could have done something cooler, maybe with light reflecting off of their mirrors or something. I don't know, but I feel like there was definitely better alternatives than what we got. This one was really close to being number 12 on the list, if it wasn't for my annoyingly frustrating time with the sisters. But I normally don't talk about the lead up to a boss, but the lead up to this boss battle is absolutely horrendously annoying. You have to go up like literally a flight of 30 stairs in order to reach the top, and they're based on sections of 3. Now, in order to do so, you have to look very closely at which torches are not lit, and you have to keep an eye on the ones going all the way up, and odds are you're going to fail this at least 5, maybe even 10 times until eventually getting to the top. But once you get up there, what do you fight? Stairs. Yeah, you fight some stairs, which is crazy. I think it's literally called the Killer Staircase, which is the harsh possessor ghost. I don't understand this one. This one felt weird, especially with one of the greatest first boss fights, I think, in Nintendo games with the giant spider. Spoiler alert, it's going to be pretty high on this list. This was a strange one. Not only is the boss design just boring, where you're literally fighting some stairs, but it's just incredibly easy. I mean, you genuinely have to have your eyes closed and fallen asleep to get hit by any of his attacks. He shoots these very slow fireballs at you, and then very, very slowly tries to bite you, and then jumps in the air with maybe hours of time to spare in order to run out of the way. Then you pull the cord and fight the possessor ghost. This is one where I feel like probably everybody unanimously hates, and I don't understand how you could justify this one, and I really don't even know how the development team really came down to possessing some stairs. Like, what? Yeah, they definitely could have done better with this one. The ancient Poltergeist in the old Clockworks is pretty much the same thing as the first boss, but now he can toss bombs at you, which you would think this one is slightly better, but this late in the game, which is pretty much the middle of the game, was pretty strange for this to be all that he actually did. And all you had to do was slowly walk around the outside, take out some extra ghosts, and then of course take him out, which he's just kind of floating in the middle of the arena. really is not that difficult at all and didn't really add anything super crazy. It still wasn't a brain dead fight nevertheless, and I still had a decent amount of time just kind of dodging the bombs, but they never posed a threat whatsoever. I think the hardest part of this fight was the ghost that joined the battle from the outside. Number 9, we have the Brain, which is a giant poltergeist from the Scare Scraper mode. Now, this one was actually kind of fun to fight, simply due to the fact that there was a lot of stuff going on. Tons of different ghosts will spawn all over the arena, and you'll have to pay attention to which pile of bricks are starting to move. It's kind of unfortunate that it's always the same battle arena every time you get here, and also the bricks are in the same spots as well, and there's only 3 little piles, making it pretty easy if you just stand in the middle and start flashing your light in circles, you'll probably get a hit. But it's even more fun when the ghost has super amounts of health. When you're playing with like 3 to 4 players total, it's actually a blast. You know, everybody's doing different things. Some people could be taking out ghosts while some people's trying to take out the Brain. It's a pretty fun boss battle to play, especially with extra people. I definitely had a good time with it, but still, it's pretty lackluster compared to every other boss on this list. Coming in at number 8, we have the Strong Poltergeist, which is very much like the ancient one, but this time you fight him in space. And I actually really like this one because of the atmosphere, if anything. It's really cool how you're looking at him through the telescope and then boom, you're in the middle of a battle and you really just don't expect it at first. Now, you can actually pay attention to the movement of the stars in order to figure out where he's at all times, and once again, he'll be tossing bombs at you in between phases. But what's really cool about this one is the bombs are actually, in play here. They actually require you to move in specific areas or you can easily get hit by them as he tosses tons at you. But I think the atmosphere and this slightly increased difficulty with the little bugs also flying around the room make this boss a little bit better than the other poltergeists on this list, but still not the best poltergeist in my opinion. That goes to number 7 on this list, the regular poltergeist, which is the very first one you'll fight in this game and really the first boss at all that you'll fight in this game. This is no Amadeus Wolf guys from Luigi's Mansion 3. If you played that game, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But this boss still is really good, in fact. Even for a generic ghost design, him playing the piano is kind of creepy, and the whole time you can hear him playing the piano and getting mad and slamming the piano from a distance until you get into this room, and then you actually have to fight the guy. And it's really cool how they show you have to pay attention to every little thing that's going on around the room in order to get the visual cues down and figure out where he is. And after you defeat him, he has 2 buddies that want to come in and play as well. And you can't just hold the suction button down because you'll get pelted with books, so it teaches you to be patient and attack at the right times. For the opening boss battle of the game, this was pretty daggone impressive, and I just wish the rest of the game had some mini bosses to this caliber and just kept improving from there. Unfortunately, it didn't. Now reaching the first main chapter boss of this list, we have number 6, the Haunted Clocktower. I actually thought this one wasn't terrible, but the whole design around it was really just a big battle arena where you'd be going through a gauntlet of ghosts that you fought your way all the way up to this point. That isn't a bad idea, but for a chapter boss battle, I kind of was hoping for a lot more, but still, it was a fun, high-intensity fight where you'll get crowded with enemies very quickly towards the end of this thing, and you have to watch out for the moving clock arm, which will damage you if you don't hurry up and get out of the way in between rounds. I will probably say this could definitely be the hardest boss battle of the entire game, which is pretty interesting considering the fact that this is around the middle of the game, so yes, I was still expecting a little bit more, but still what they gave us wasn't horrible either. It was just a giant boss gauntlet, which definitely put your skills to the test, and you can't really get mad at that. Odds are our lists were probably very similar up until this point, but this is probably where I'm going to lose a lot of people and be very different. I'm sorry, this is just how I feel, but at number 5 we have the Haunted Knights, which a lot of people claim to be one of the best bosses in this game. And trust me, I was one of those people from my first initial playthrough on the 3DS all the way back then. I loved this fight, but after playing it again, it kind of moved down my list a little bit. For one, this is actually an enemy that you'll actually have to take out earlier on in this game, down in the dungeons underneath the treacherous mansion, which isn't terrible that we're doing it again, but for a final boss battle of this world, I kind of wanted a bit more, and it's just kind of the same thing where you have to get all the knights onto one carpet in order to trip them all, which let me tell you is extremely easy. I mean seriously, you can just slowly walk around all of them and they will not hit you. It may have been a little bit better if every knight didn't have this giant heavy hammer to swing where it just made every single one of them super slow, but you know what, it is what it is. But then for the next phase and the final phase, there will be a giant knight on the battlefield, and what you'll have to do is trip both of his feet by getting both of his feet on the carpets, which at first can be a little confusing trying to figure out what to do, but once you just figure it out, it's fairly simple. Just going to the left side of the stage and the right side of the stage to get both feet on the carpets and then trip them both in order to bring down the knight. With this giant knight, it looks insane, and the whole presence of him being above you is awesome. I just wish they actually did more with the knight battle itself, besides just pulling some rugs underneath his giant feet. Number 4, we have the ice monster. Look, I told you this list was going to be different. Now listen, I know this is one of the most hated bosses like ever for Nintendo fans. I remember reading and just seeing so much hate for this boss online ever since I was a kid, but I remember, once again, ever since I was a kid, loving this boss battle. So going back into it, I was really ready to see why people hated it so much, and I still can say I don't understand it. This boss battle was a lot of fun to me to revisit, and yes, it does have a little bit of a difficulty curve, learning how to time your shots, but that's all it is. It's just timing your shots down in order to hit the pieces of ice. Now, I had a lot of people tell me that it was just a complete skill issue why I hated the 3 sisters from the Haunted Towers, and I'll have to say, it really can't be the case considering the fact that I absolutely love this boss battle, because I found myself easily blowing through this, and I'd done it like 3 or 4 times in a row just to double check and make sure I wasn't losing my mind. No, this boss battle really isn't that bad if you just pay attention to the timing of the bombs that you shoot and the timing of the ice as it spins in a circle. It actually is kind of unique, and it's definitely different than any other boss battle we've seen in this game. And even the fight against the Possessor Ghost can be kind of tricky, because the portals can open up anywhere, so you have to make sure you get out of the way, especially when the room starts opening up with ice on the ground. That's when it really becomes difficult, because you start slipping around. But I thought this boss battle was pretty entertaining, and I actually continuously had fun going through and playing through the boss over and over again. Maybe I'm just crazy, but I don't know. I thought this was a really fun boss battle. Coming in at number 3, we have Boolossus. Now, I just found out today that this is another one that people weren't a big fan of. I, once again, really love this boss battle. I think it's a huge improvement from the version from the first game, because man, I hated freezing all those little boos and trying to catch them as well. It was horrible. But this one, you pretty much have to catch the big boo in order to shoot it at the front end of the train in order to literally put it on a drill and pop it open full of little boos. You then have to go around finding the little boos and then eventually using your dark light to find them all in order to stun them again and fling them into the train cars in order to kind of imprison them there. And you have to find one that's open in order to bank shot it off the backboard. This is such a cool and unique, clever idea. To me, I feel like the only bad part about this boss battle, if I had to choose one, would probably be the design of the tracks themselves, where it's kind of a trapezoid instead of just like a circle going around Luigi, which would have made things a lot easier. But I didn't find shooting the boos into the train being that difficult at all. A lot of the time I had a really clear angle to shoot them in, and I never really missed unless I was absolutely going for a crazy shot. This is a really unique idea. Instead of just sucking up ghosts, you had to imprison them this time, which also doesn't quite make sense, because how can they not just get out of there? They're ghosts. But yeah, I love this Boolossus boss fight, and it's definitely a unique, different take on a boss battle, once again being different from things that we've seen through the rest of this game. Coming in at number 2, we have the Giant Spider, and this is the very first chapter boss of the entire game, and let me tell you, they absolutely cooked with this boss battle. It is so good, and it is such a Luigi's Mansion boss battle, if that makes sense. Let me tell you why I said this. Because instead of just walking up and trying to capture a ghost or, doing one quick task, it actually has you going around this little hallway and doing little puzzles in order to get the cobwebs to catch on fire. That might cause you to bring a cobweb ball to a flame, or to pull one all the way back from the front all the way to a knight in order to stick it with its sword. There's so many little different things that you have to do, and that's such a perfect thing for a game like this, because Luigi's Mansion is based on puzzles, so to incorporate a really deep, fun puzzle into a boss battle was amazing. And it was just so extremely satisfying when you figured out what to do for the first time. Unfortunately, I already knew what to do from playing it on the 3DS so many years ago, but still, even having prior knowledge of what to do, it was still such a blast to actually execute it again and just see how it all came together so smoothly. They did a great job with the first boss battle of this game, or should I say, the first chapter boss battle of this game. And once again, it uses a mechanic that was in the mansion itself, which I really just wish all the other bosses from the other mansions did the same. It just like, why couldn't it get just as good as this one? Like, why did it go so downhill from here? And of course, in our #1 spot as the best boss battle in Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, it has to be King Boo. Now, I will say right now, this King Boo boss fight is the best King Boo boss fight out of all 3 games. This one definitely keeps up the most intensity, and I had a blast playing against this one the entire time. So the main goal here is to have these giant spiked balls fall out of the sky and hit King Boo, which he'll toss them up in the air by banging on the stage, and then you'll see giant shadows pop up in the ground and you have to lead them onto one of the shadows. You'll then enter what I believe to be one of the best parts, being a chase phase, where he's rolling through this giant makeshift mansion and you have to dodge opening drawers, lightning strikes, and all types of different elemental things on the tiles below your feet, meaning ice to make you slippery, you have to go up the right escalator or it'll slow you down. There's a lot of things that you have to keep an eye on and pay attention to what's ahead of you. And yes, it's very fast-paced and very frantic. As somebody with high anxiety, this one just made my anxiety bust through the roof every single time I played this boss battle, but in a good way, if that makes sense. I love this scene, and I wish there was just an extra one. Like, instead of 2, I wish there were 3, like you actually started the battle with a scene like this, but man, this is just so good. But when you get to your 3rd and final phase to take him out, he'll get even more attacks like covering the stage's tiles and lightning, and also dropping bigger spiked balls down in order to harm you, and also change the tiles up, like for instance add some sand tiles that will slow your movement down. And yes, it's not as super easy as just having spiked balls drop on his head, because sometimes he'll actually dodge out of the way at the right second. I thought this was actually a really good conclusion to the end of this game, and for a 3DS game back then, this was a really fun boss fight and still holds up very well on the Nintendo Switch today. This is definitely the best battle in Luigi's Mansion 2 HD in my opinion. But I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and definitely let me know in the comments down below what your favorite boss of this game was and what your least favorite boss was, and also just let me know if you agree or disagree with my list. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe before you head out, and like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See ya guys.